Aloha and welcome to Mana Inspiration with yours truly, Note Endurance. And like always, we're going to have our weekly scripture. And this week's scripture we have is in Romans 14, verse 8, which states, "For if we live to the Lord. And if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's." That's a beautiful scripture. And reading that had me kind of think of a past book that I have read. And I have read this book, I would say, more than 10 times audio, and I've read it more than 5, 6 times physically read through it. And what it is the book, The 1 Minute Salesperson. Now, this book, it goes over basically on your purpose behind what you're doing. Now, in one of those, I would say those tests that they talk about, these guys that they go along and they're explaining the story, it's called, one of, part of the book, it's called the Tombstone Test. And reading that, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. So it had me thinking about, I would say, a little bit of death. Now, death is not a bad thing because death can help you refocus a lot of things that you have in your life. So, if you probably ask, what is the tombstone test? Now, the tombstone test is exactly basically what it sounds like, is what you would like on your tombstone. Now, those words, um, this is where it kind of, I would ask you, what would you want it to say? Would you want it to say, he was a nice guy? He was a sweetheart? He did the best he could every day. He really tried hard. Or do you want something passionate to where he loved his family? He was a loving father and he cared and provided for his whole generation. That's beautiful. Now, ask yourself, what do you want your tombstone to say? Think about this. It took me a good, I would say, a week to come in exactly and write in what I would like on my tombstone and what I would want to be known for. You know, if we think about that, it really helps us kind of put things into perspective. Your tombstone has a couple things on it: your name, the date that you were born, a dash, and the date that you have passed, or I would say gone over into heaven. Now, from that dash is your life. Now, that is that saying on your tombstone. So, if you ask yourself, what do you want that dash to represent in your life, or what do you want to be known for? Um, it had then, me thinking of, if you had a certain amount of days left, what would you do? And if somebody gave you 6 months to live, this is the questions that I think start to, say, come to you is, first off, is what would you stop doing that you know is wasting your time? And the other is, what would you start doing because you know you're wasting your time? Think about that. Ask yourself those questions. And I heard this from Robin Sharma, and it's from the Everyday Hero Manifesto. And he says, thinking about death recalibrates your priorities. So, if it's recalibrating your priorities and it makes you think of what's important, I ask you, what is most important in your life? You feel that maybe you're not taken care of, maybe it's not because it's on the back burner of an everyday work, everyday, I would say, life that happens. What's most important to you? If you was asked that question or was told that you only have a certain amount of days to live, What would you start doing? What would you stop doing? What would be the most important things you want to focus on in your life? Now, we got to live every day in meaning and for a purpose. You know, I think it was basically this was sent to me. Sorry for jumbling my words, but a lot is coming to me on this subject. And my friend Billy Jet Archuleta sent me a link from, is it Jim King? And it says, on the days we only have 40% and you give 40%, you actually gave 100%. So represent your best in each day. What are we wanting to be known for? What's most important? If we were given that deadline, what would we stop doing? What would we start appreciating? Who would we go to and reconcile? You know, what is that most important in your life? Why wait till a doctor or somebody tells you that you have a deadline to live, and let's start living today? Aloha, guys. I love you. You have a blessed week. Like the message, subscribe, hit the bell, remind yourself that it's coming up, share it with others. And like I always say here in Mana Inspiration, we want to let you know you're not alone in this thing we call life. Again, aloha. Salute to the troops. I love you guys. You have a blessed week. Thanks.